are doing things that you're not allowed to do. You're not supposed to do. In the evidence, they have one of these tapes with my mother, and she's telling me about I need to get my heart right, and I need to get my life together, and I need to stop doing things that I know I'm not supposed to do, or I'll end up like my murdered grandfather. And that was something that she had used for years to intimidate me, scare me, get me to comply, I guess. They used what happened to my dad's mother. They locked her up in a institution. They used that to control me too, telling me that that could happen to me if I didn't do what they said. This family that I was staying with and doing things with, their last names, anyway, they actually were trying to help me kind of escape my family. And my mother and she was pretending to be me, calling my doctor. They were pretending to be me, calling this girl's work. They had gotten him fired from a job, gotten him put in rehab. Like, they were stalking this family to make them.
So what time period was this? You got out of prison?
No, that was all prior to me getting sentenced. When I was locked up, well, I think it was right after I got out. Everybody started passing away. Tad's mother, one of the other ladies that she was a really good friend of Tad's mom. Tad passed away back in 2019, I think. Other people that were witnesses, they're either, I don't know where they are, or they have passed away, or I cannot communicate with them by law. I believe that the witness actually, the victim actually, a couple of things she said from the stand, I think she was actually trying to help me by saying things out of being random, like the jury might think, well, what does that mean? Or like, what's that supposed to be about? There was no way to cause reasonable doubt in any of this. My attorney kept just sitting there, just letting them say things, do things, ask questions. I wrote questions and I'm like, can you ask them this? He said, no, I can't. And I'm like, you're not defending me. I'm like, you're not defending me at all. There was no witnesses called for me. No, for me. No one testified for me except for me. And he said he didn't want me to talk. I said, but if no one defends me, how is that trial? And he said, you don't have to speak. I'm like, someone has to speak up for me on the stand. He wouldn't ask me questions. So finally, I asked the judge, can I just talk freely? They said, yeah.
He didn't do no cross-examinations?
He asked a couple of questions of different people that were up there, witnesses, just very few things. He didn't really ask anything that had anything to do with my real life, what I was really doing, who my real friends were, who I was seeing besides that man. I have a letter that from his office that they said, we know these men existed, but we don't feel like any of them would come forward. I have actually, since I got out of prison, gone to them and said, please, will you say something? And they're like, oh, my family, my friends, my marriage, my kids. Some of them have even said, no, my political career, because they're in politics. And I'm like, my kid is gone now, like, at all. Say anything or help me? And they're like, no, look what they did to you. The police did this to you. Why are we going to go to them? We're Black. And I agree. I see why they wouldn't want to go. Why they didn't want to back then.
So you got out in 2014 and you tried to reconnect with your son, and you said he was still at that time under the conservatorship of your parents?
Yes. I was trying to get that conservatorship changed, but they said in order to do that, I had to have a home, and I had to have a job, I had to have an income, and I had to have some kind of way to, take him where he needs to go and this kind of thing. I said, well, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm in an institution out here. I don't know. So I ended up getting into a boarding home, is what it was called. Trying to get a job, get a life. I had an address that was good enough for parole, and I kept thinking if I just get me somehow to be able to get back to Midland. My dad's sister and my sister and then one of my cousins kept telling me, whatever you do, don't come back here. Your mom hates you. She'll either kill you or she'll put you back in prison for real. My mom actually did. One day my dad decided he wanted to start helping me get my kid back and get a place, and my mom kicked him out. She started this big story about my dad had been abusing her. beating her, was verbally abusive, all this stuff. They caught some stuff on a videotape, and for 2 years took my dad through the court system, and then ended up finding guilty based on the fact that the tape was altered. I said, well, my tapes are altered, but you don't care about that either, you know. My son, I found out during that time in 2012, he was found, well, he was charged with a sexual assault of a minor, and he was 12. He said he was doing with someone underage. It was someone near age to him, what they had seen in pornography. And I said, well, where in the world did he draw? And Kevin had told me, he said, well, we were doing what we saw in the pictures. I said, well, whose pictures were they? He said that they belonged to Mr. My parents had managing conservatorship, so I feel like all four of those adults should have somehow been held accountable for something. But you're putting this pile of an adult felony on a 12-year-old. There's a lot that has happened here that I do believe it's racially a problem. I think it's a race problem.
What were during all this time? So the son's father, where has he been at during all this time?
My son's father was in prison. He got out, I believe he got out in either 14 or 16. Because of the way that his letters were, I wrote back and forth with him in prison a little bit. The way his letters were, I really didn't want to try to get them reconnected. I knew where Kevin was, but even if it was kind of dangerous for Kevin for me to know where he was and try to communicate with him, I could only imagine how freaked out my family would be. Even though the court order said that me and my son's dad were allowed to have contact with him, I don't believe my family ever gave him our mail. My son has sisters that they tried to send money, tried to get in touch with him, and my family kept them from that too. Back in 2020, I finally gave one of his sisters Kevin's email and showed him what he looked like on Facebook. I said, well, if he wants to communicate with y'all, then here is his information.
So was this a sister through through your boyfriend, through his dad?
Through his dad, yes. He has 3 daughters. His oldest one is my age, so he's an older man. So I kind of trusted these women with their brother's information. And within 6 months, he had already gone to Virginia, flown to Virginia to go and see them, meet them. And while there, Kevin told me, I can't reconnect with you. He was either in Virginia or he had just come home, but he had told me, I can't reconnect with you. And I thought, dude, this happened to me again. Like, I told him, I said, I'm going to give you my blessing. I know you said you're expecting a baby. Just go live your life. Go be happy. Go be free. Be free from me, from all this. Just enjoy your life. And that was the last time he and I had any kind of communication. The next one I got.
Who was having the baby? Was that your ex?
My son's my son and his girlfriend, they were engaged. They were going to be having a child. And so I told him, go be happy. Be a good dad, don't worry about me and this mess, and I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what to do. He had said something about maybe helping me with my case, and I happened to mention that to my sister, Christy. After our mom passed away, I had started talking to her again. And
the one that sent you to prison?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had sent me a message and told me that I didn't need to pursue whatever happened to Kevin. I didn't need to pursue what happened to me. That they still had evidence against me. And I said, please, will you give it to the Midland County Sheriff's Office? They'll wonder why after all these years that you held this and you didn't give it to him before. If you have stuff on me still and are threatening me with it, please take it to them. They haven't. She said her and my older brother have papers and tapes. I'm like, please take it all to them. Everything you can think of, please take it to them. Because they'll wonder, if they've held this stuff for 18 years, why? She sent me a message and she told me that, she said that I want you to know something before Mama died. She said, I wanted you to know that they told me that you're my biological mother. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense why you said
wait a minute. Come on, you're trying to say that your sister, you're her mother?
When my sister put that in a text message to me in
How much
Messenger,
older are you than your sister?
almost 7 years, I freaked out. I literally
7 years.
did.
Wait a minute. How can you be her mother 7 years older than her?
She told me that I'm her biological mom and that our dad is the person that I had her with, my dad.
That doesn't.
It,
How does that make sense though? Because when were you pregnant?
I don't remember any of that. I don't remember any. I told, she said, well, did you ever touch mama's belly? And I'm like, yeah, I was there taking care of two little boys when she was pregnant with you. My brother is,
There's no way
the,
a
the
seven.
three of them are like real close in age.
Wait
Like
a minute. A 7. I've never heard of a 7-year-old having a child. There's no way.
the youngest one that I've heard of was 8 years old. But
That
I
there's.
think
I mean,
there's
so
a lot of things people don't know about these days. But I don't
so
believe that I'm her mother.
yeah.
And
I
I
don't. I
did that.
mean, that sounds pretty far fetched. When you said that you said that you were being molested by your uncle. So you were going through that time period. You would have known if you're. I mean, you remember that. How would you have not remember being pregnant? I mean, that doesn't make sense.
I do agree. I remember being at home when my mother was in the hospital. My sister was in another hospital. She was born a little early. They had to take her to a different hospital. But that was something she mentioned in her message. She said, well, Mama said that she was at one hospital and that I was at another. I said, well, that part is true. Mama had you a little bit early and you had some problems breathing, I believe it was, and you had to go to another hospital in California. But this was when we lived in California. So we were away from all of our family. So when I asked my dad's sister, I said, could this have happened? This makes me very ill to even think that this is even something she may be telling people. It's violating like every core in me. Just I was just mad. I was very mad. I asked her and I also asked one of our cousins and they both told me you should get a DNA test.
But that
I
doesn't. I
said,
mean,
I
look.
said, are you saying that it could be true?
This look this that right there kind of like the whole story then about your uncle. I mean, you can't walk around pregnant and not know for 9 months and then have that makes no sense.
I
I'm
was
just
in the
saying,
second grade. I remember the
yeah,
second grade. I
that
know
makes
I'm
no
not,
you're,
but
you're
to think her
I'm
family, I was
yeah.
like,
If your
no.
sister said something like that to me, that's just like that blows the whole story out the way. I can't that
My
makes no
mom
sense.
and my sister both suffered greatly. My mom had it's called diabetes insipidus. Instead of diabetes, sugar diabetes, it's a diabetes that's salt. So if you don't drink enough water and you don't maintain your salt levels, you can actually die from too much salt in your body. This is how I believe my mother died. She decided to not eat and not drink, and she ended up in hospice, and that's how she died.
So let's fast forward to get to like now your son, you said your son in 2021 passed away and you hadn't had any communication with him. So um what what is like going on now? I mean, what do you I mean, are you still trying to rectify something with your sister? I mean, and I mean, if you're my outsider looking in, I wouldn't even want to talk to any of these people. I mean, this just sounds like it's mind blowing that I wouldn't even want to connect. I would just go on with my life. But I mean, so what is going on now?
Now well, my son committed suicide, is what they told me. I went in his home and took pictures. I don't believe that. I'm going to introduce you. This is Kevin. My son's name was Kevin. So I didn't know how to deal with this pain. I asked God, I'm like, what do I do? He's like, go get a giraffe and a red mug. And I went, what? So I went and got this little giraffe at Hobby Lobby and a red mug and started taking pictures with this red mug and this giraffe and sharing my feelings. Like how this happened to me, because people are like, Tracy, how did your dad die? Your mom died now, and now your son. Like, is this really real? I'm like, I got the call from my sister that he was found shot in his home. So yeah, this is so I share my story on social media. I did it the first couple of times against what I really wanted to do, but I knew people needed answers from his mom, especially people that have been his friends, people from church. They're wanting to know what happened. You've got 3 dead family members now with this case happening. So how did this happen? And so I've just shared it all. I've been very transparent on social media. I say things a lot of people can't comprehend that could be possible. A lot of it sounds so far fetched and so crazy, but And there, sometimes even to me, it feels that way. But I have documentation, I have records, I have pictures of me in human trafficking when I was in Austin. Like, there's things that people say there's no way this happened to you. And I'm like, well, here's a picture, or here's the document, or here's the victim services number they gave me. Like, a lot of this stuff is far-fetched. It just all seems really crazy. So I started Coffee with Kevin, and it's a way that if anybody's going through any kind of trauma, they can come talk to me. They have found me on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and I've traveled now to over 150 cities in Texas. I go meet people that say they want to die, and I tell them, "You're loved, you're precious, you're needed. There's no reason that you have to die just because you're in a situation." I share some of my situation with people, depending on what they're going through, and tell them I've decided to take the crud that happened to me and turn it around for good. So for 19 years now, I've shared my artwork. I've given my artwork away. It's been around the world through prison ministries. I donate it to good causes. I share my testimony in art. Sometimes you can't say what you need to say. In prison, I helped moms speak to their children who they couldn't write out things because the people they're staying with might know what they meant, but the kids might understand, oh, that's what my mom's telling me because she's drawn that picture. I get that. I had to communicate with my kid that way. So I help parents and kids try to stay connected through art. And out here, working with kids and with singers, trying to help them, they draw something and then they can, design merch with it for like t-shirts, or if they can sell things at food, little farmers markets and stuff, teach them how to make jelly and baked goods and things like that to help them raise money for their family. They're caregivers that are taking care of children of prisoners out here are suffering. No matter what my parents did to help separate me and my kid, there was a great need for them to have some kind of support. Maybe they didn't go about it the right way, trying to help me. They felt like they were getting me rehab. They said that my mom even told me, we were just trying to get you rehab, and it turned into this mess. I was taking pain pills after I lost my daughter. I lost a baby girl, and I got dependent on
Wait, when was this?
medication. My son was 9 months old when I lost her. I was in the hospital here in the Midland Memorial Hospital, and I I didn't know that I was pregnant, though I thought I was pregnant. I didn't go through any kind of sex education, and the only thing that I got from my parents in sex education was don't till you're married. And I'm thinking, well, I've already been used and abused for all these years, so don't work for me. So I really wasn't. I don't know. I didn't know a whole lot. I got locked up, and they told me I had cancer. I had to have surgery I didn't want against my will. They told me I'll give you a major case if you don't have it.
Wait. Hold on, because we're jumping around now. So
Yeah,
you had surgery. This is when you got locked up for the case with your sister?
yeah. So it tells why I kind of bumped into that. Because when I had that surgery, they told me that I had a blood disorder, and that was why I lost babies. And that's well, that's the best thing that came out of this whole time, is at least I have answers as to why I had lost children. I've lost 6 babies total, including my son. But
So
I
wait a
thought
minute, you had the
God was
surgery,
punishing me
you had the surgery,
in '01.
and you were already
So,
locked up at that time?
no, I had the surgery in '01. They had to do life-saving surgery when I lost my daughter. So then I had surgery in prison when they said I had cancer. That was in 2007. And that's when I got the explanation of why I lost my daughter. Sorry, I bounced. Sometimes I trigger to something from something else, so I apologize. Sorry.
Wow. Ah. So how do people contact you on social media? Because we'll probably have to do a part two, but how do people contact you on social media if they want to reach out to you and they're going through they're dealing with situations that are very traumatical that they don't know how to escape, or they're dealing with something that they can't really share, and they're looking for help. I mean, it sounds like you touch a lot of people in that area. How would they get a hold of you? And I'm gonna put the link in the description too.
Okay, I have a link. It's through Blink, and it has all of my links attached to it. It's kind of like a I don't know, it's just a drop down that it shows everything. It's got my TikTok, it's got all of my social media, I've got fundraising on there, and then I also have a project called Pour Your Heart Out, Project Freedom, and it's for people that have situations with the government and law enforcement where they can tell me their story. If they can't tell it, then they can do it in artwork. Um, I do have artwork that, you know, I've shared some of that with you, as to ways to deal with trauma. When you don't know what words to say, sometimes art helps. And so that's what I do. I'm a certified mental health coach. I'm board certified through the American Association of Christian Counselors. This year I will be master certified as a youth mental health coach, working with children and teenagers. But they can get in touch with me through that link. It's really easy to just look at CWK on Facebook, or even just Pour Your Heart Out, Project Freedom. And you just really have to Google me. And there's a lot of stuff out there because I've been super busy to turn this mess into a message.
Okay. Well, Tracy, man, that was a that was a crazy interview. I mean, a lot of stuff to digest there. I still got a lot of other questions. You know, I have to do a follow up, but thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Thank you. I did it mostly because they told me that they can't help me without an attorney. I need an attorney. I need an attorney for my exoneration. I'm innocent of this crime, and without attorney, I don't know how to do it. I've done research for 19 years now. I have the tapes, I have the evidence, I have everything that somebody would need. I've done all the footwork. I really need an attorney to file a motion to dismiss or file for a new trial or whatever else needs to happen. And that's part of the reason I agreed to do this, is I really need help to be free.
But you're off probation. You're off everything, right? Right
I
now.
am. I still owe them that $10,000 fine, which now it's 12,500. I can't get a job. No one will hire me with this on my background. When they look me up in Google, they freak out and they're like, "We don't want you around our customers." And like, it's been a hellacious ride. If it wasn't for my best friend that got me out of prison, he's a veteran. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be alive, honestly, because I don't know how I would function. I don't know how I would cope. So
Well, we'll put the links in the description. And man, I thank you for coming on the show, sharing your story. And for those of you guys out there, hit us up, send a message, leave a comment, contact Tracy. And thank you for tuning in and appreciate it, Tracy.
thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.